Hello, you are welcome to the Spotlight. Thank you so much for being part of the family and also subscribing to the channel. Today, I'm here to talk about Ghana. As you know, our goal is always to make sure that we talk about the good thing that is going on in Africa as a whole. And in like a couple of months now, we've always been talking about Ghana, the good stuff that is going on, and the experience people are going through anytime they travel to Ghana. And today, I'm lucky to have someone special with me to have this very conversation. Someone that has lived all her life in the States and happened to go to Ghana. And before she went to Ghana, her impression before and after. That's what we're going to talk about. And also her experience. Before we do that, please do subscribe to the channel. Which you have, and let us continue to share the good news out and tell the people who want the great people. On that note, I welcome Paige to today's. How are you, Paige?
I'm fine, thank you for asking. No complaint. Ghana owes me nothing.
I know you always say that Ghana owes you nothing.
No, it
I'm
was
glad
an
to hear that.
experience.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Okay. So, which states are you? Which states are you?
You said, what state am I in? Oh, I'm in I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I am from the DMV, the District of Maryland, Virginia corridor. I am born and raised here over 50 years
Okay.
and recently relocated to North Carolina.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So, I know recently you went to Ghana. You and I had a bit of a conversation when we met at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
Experience. And I thought it wise that to be good for to be fair for people out there also to know the good stuff that is going on. Let's talk about before you went to Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
What was your impression?
Before I went to Ghana, in all honesty, my impression today at this age, opposed to coming up through grammar school and things like that, had changed, but I still was not sure what to expect because they do not teach you in school the reality. I can't say it was a bad impression or a good impression. All I know is what we were allowed to learn.
Mhm.
Um, And when you think of Africa, period, all you think of is safari. Um, you don't think of houses. You don't think of houses. And when you think of Africa, you think of tribal huts. I believe a lot of people still think like that unless they have been exposed to it in one way and or another. Um, I just, I just did not. I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't what I got was not what I expected for sure.
I'm glad to hear that. So I know, and I also heard oftentimes that the people that are growing up, based on the education system, they make you to understand that, like as we all know, okay, let put it in this way: the media has always given the public a wrong impression of Africa.
Mm-hmm. 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 I would agree.
Which is something that has really, really taken over all over the world, and which is making a lot of people very scared going to any part of Africa. They don't want to what they hear, what they see.
Mm-hmm.
Are you feeling the same way before you went to Ghana?
No,
Okay.
no. It was an eye opener for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was an experience of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one thing I can say is what they have Americans believing that Africa is. We have nothing to reflect on as Americans except for slavery. So
Okay.
our idea of Africa is always going to be related to tribal music, dress, the different paintings on the face, things like that. Although we do interact and we see African culture, ethnicity in our country, it's still different from us
Mm-hmm.
because they don't change who they are when they come here. They may change the way they dress slightly, but they still will use the mud claw to get clothing made. Um, I just don't know what anybody else's impression is. I'm sure it's not that far from mine, probably coming, into the experience. And now even you said it, and people don't even know that you actually grew up in Ghana. They can hear the accent, but we always assume that you've been here forever and ever and ever. Or you came up when you were very young, so right, but that part of your culture is no longer a part of you. So, my impression of Africa is not the same as it was before I left. That's most definitely.
So now let's talk about when you very first day that it's okay, you receive your visa.
Mm-hmm.
On the very first day that you were about to board the flight, what was going through your mind?
I was praying for safe travel, most importantly. And the flight was very full. It was a very big plane. There were 54 of us, but the plane held probably 3 times as many people.
Yeah.
And it was that many people going. It wasn't a completely sold out flight, but that flight was full. There were a couple of empty seats here and there, but they were all in the center somewhere. And the center row was housing 4 people, 2 people from each side. So it was a row of 8 throughout the entire plane. Boarding the plane, I was a little anxious, like, oh God, what's going to happen next? They said it's a 10-hour flight. Am I going to be able to manage this? All of those things were in my mind. This was the longest flight I had ever taken. This is the furthest I've ever traveled in my life. All of those types of things, like, how does this work? Does your chair go back when it's time to go to sleep? How does this work? So, and then seeing people of the African descent on board traveling to Ghana to either go home or visit while they're home was interesting too. It was normal to them.
Yep.
And they didn't make a lot of noise. When we did our visas, that was interesting to me. But logically, everything I thought about was based on TV. Okay. So when we did the visas, some people were like, well, why do you need a visa? You didn't used to need a visa. I said, well, my thought, this is my thought and my theory, you probably can straighten this out for me. I noticed when I watch certain TV shows, let's just say NCIS, FBI, or something like that, I told my girlfriend, I said, a visa keeps track of who's coming in and out of the country. A visa lets them know where you said you were going to be. I said, think about it. When you're in a foreign country and they need to get in contact with you because there's an emergency back home, they contact you through the embassy. The embassy pulls your visa. Your visa has an itinerary attached to it, and that's how they locate you. Yep. So I said it makes sense. Then I have a very dear friend that is from Nigeria who said that they already have which this is something I did not know. Ghana residents have a passport, an African passport. And you can use that passport at one time to travel out of the country into the United States. And then you can have a U.S. passport to travel back into the country, which means you would not need a visa.
Yep.
But now all that has come to a halt. You can only have one, depending on where your citizenship is. So these are things that I learned from having friends that are from Africa. That's where their descent is. They still own homes there. They travel to Africa. So I'm like, that's how, because the United States, in my opinion, now that I see this, was not keeping track of people coming into the United States. And that's the reason why we're being faced with some of the things that we're being faced with now.
Okay.
So that
sounds good
for me.
Okay. So you are in Ghana. You just landed at the airport, came out of the plane, went through the immigration, and now you are out. How was the feeling?
I was in awe. It was mouth dropping from when we hit the runway,
Mhm.
just to look out the window and see how everything is set up. The airport was very busy. Oh my God, it was hot.
Okay. Mhm.
It was hot. It was hot in the airport. I'm coming from the US of A. Where we do
Yeah, right.
everything.
Yeah, last time was winter time, so it was a little bit cold in US at the time.
Right, right. It was cold. It was freezing when we left.
Okay.
So I was dressed for New York, and I was dressed for the airplane. When we hit that going airport, uh, it was a heat wave. Then you coming through the airport, everybody's coming at you trying to help you get your luggage. But they were, in some sense, depending on the person, it could take you back. But at the same time, there was no rudeness.
Okay.
Oh, please and thank you. Can I help you? And I understand that they are working because this is anywhere you go in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, in China, in the Czechoslovakia. When you come to the airport, these people are here to earn money. They make their extra money off of tips. So therefore, what I did notice, they did not disrespect each other if you already had somebody helping you. Unlike the United States, sometimes it could be a little different,
Mhm.
but everybody was helping. It's like they knew where our group was supposed to be going. I guess they saw the coach buses out front, so they knew there was a slew of us coming in, a vast number of us coming in. So they were willing to help us out. Customs, we didn't have any issues in customs at all, coming or going that I knew of. But it was interesting. To be honest with you, it was no different than home.
Okay.
There was no people everywhere, luggage everywhere. We walk outside, people waiting, trying to get rides from the airport or
Mhm.
find a way. The porters trying to make their tip and make everything easy and convenient for you to get to where you need to get to. In all actuality, it may look different, but the atmosphere was the same.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yes. Let's talk about your impression, and now you are in Ghana. I know you guys had a lot of because of the number. Your itinerary was different. There were a couple of places that you guys decided to go. So,
Right.
how was the itinerary in the places that you went to and your impression?
So we drove and they drove us from the airport on our air conditioned coach bus to the hotel. We had a husband and wife group leader with us, one on each bus. We had two buses. They were fabulous. They were patient. They were understanding. They were, oh my God, they were everything. As we say it in our state, they were lit. They were everything. They were accommodating no matter what. Um, they taught us when they tell us, I go, we say, I met, what we say, I met. That means,
Just like someone else you loud and say hello.
hello. We say, I made it, say, we hear you.
Yep.
So they taught us that. They also taught us when we went to how to speak tree, how to say thank you and stuff in the tree. When we went up the mountain, our first stop was in Accra. We stayed at a 5-star hotel in Accra. That was really nice. Again, when we got there, the luggage, the passports, everything. We had a host there. I can't think of his name. He gave us so much information
Mhm.
about what to expect and express the thank yous and the pleases and things like that. We had 3 meals a day set up for us no matter what.
Okay.
Then the porters taking our luggage, they didn't take a long time to deliver your luggage. Everything was just, I mean, it was more, it was nice. It was really nice. Um, what was different is you all don't have traffic lights.
We don't have a lot. We do, but we don't have a lot.
So,
We do have a lot.
like, zoom, 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 zoom. And the bus driver was operating that bus like it's not happening. He was coming, zoom, yeah. Um, There's a roundabout not far from the hotel we stayed in. We stayed in Kumasi. No, no, no. What was the name of that hotel we stayed in? But yeah, in Accra we stayed in.
Is it close to the airport?
Yeah, to me it is. The name of the hotel was Kapinski.
Oh, yeah,
We stayed in Kapinski Hotel. I still have my key card, which is a wooden key card. Yes, I kept my key card. And it came with a nice flat envelope, just like it does in the United States, but it's wood. It's a wood key card. The hotel, like I said, was fabulous. The food was beautiful. We had breakfast every morning. So, you all's breakfast compared to the United States is totally different.
Okay.
So it's breakfast like that all the time. Like breakfast was laid out like brunch, what we call brunch. Brunch doesn't start until usually 10 or 11 o'clock. It's after 9 a.m. or after 10 a.m. And it goes until about 2 or 3 o'clock. Dinners comes on at 5, 6 o'clock. But you all's breakfast starts at like 6:30 in the morning. It had, like, I ate rice porridge every day I could because I like porridge. That was my first time having rice porridge. Oatmeal, bacon, what you guys call a chicken sausage, for us is a chicken hot dog in the United States.
Okay.
They had beans, they had stew, they had omelets, they had scrambled eggs, they had boiled eggs, they had fruit, smoked salmon, fish, French fries, all types of breads, pastries. You had water, you had fresh juice, you had cafe, what they didn't have at the Penske Hotel, they did have tea. It was just different. For us, breakfast was just, they had pancakes that they really loved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall seeing waffles, but our breakfast was eggs and toast and bacon, nothing else. I mean, sausage, but it stayed strictly within that portion of and maybe a hot cereal or a cold cereal, a bagel and cream cheese. And you could have 4 pastries. You all take it from one end to the other. Now, when you go to lunch, you can get everything I named in addition to shrimp, salmon, fried chicken, mac and cheese.
Let me ask you this. So before you went to Ghana, you imagine that you go to Ghana and see a lot of food like that.
When you see a lot of food like that, it's usually at some type of event. That's not every day. In Ghana, that's every day.
Every day. Look at my house.
Right. Every hotel we stayed in, that was breakfast.
Yeah.
And we stayed in 3 different hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Every hotel, that was breakfast. It was a buffet of
breakfast.
And dinner was different and lunch was different. But yeah, so that's how you guys eat all the time for, early morning. You have a lot of choices.
Yep. A lot of choices up to what you want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So, living in Accra, I believe you went to maybe a couple of places in Accra, right?
Yeah.
And when you were within Accra, what was the experience in terms of interacting with people within the country? Their reaction, how their behavior towards you, was it nice? How was it?
They just watched, and if you asked to take a picture with them, they would take a picture with you. They would allow it. Of course, a couple of times people wanted money for you to ask to take a picture of them, which I can't blame them because you're going to post my picture as a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
They were friendly, but I did notice, and I did like and appreciate that we had tour guides outside of our guide that hosted us while we were there. Everywhere we went, if you didn't leave there with some new knowledge, there was something wrong with you.
Okay.
We went to the art gallery. It starts with an A. We went to the art gallery.
Art center.
Yes, we went there. We also went to
Kwame Nkrumah Museum.
who?
Kwame Nkrumah Museum. The Kwame Nkrumah Museum. Yeah.
Yeah, we went there. We went to the Kwame
Nkrumah.
Yes, Nkrumah. We went there. That was beautiful.
Okay.
The statues with the water coming out.
Mm-hmm.
In the we call it a reflecting pool, where they're lined with the gold statues on both sides, and so the water comes out of the pipe that they're blowing on, or the horn. And the nice statue of him, and we saw the tomb for he and his wife. We went in and saw the part of the museum where they had photos at different rallies and things that he had attended, where you couldn't take pictures of some of the stuff in there, but the stuff that they allowed us to take pictures of, we did. But it was just interesting to see the same type of history or historical things that we have going on in the United States with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. You all still experience that same stuff in Ghana. It's no different. It's the same causes on a different platform, on a different level. We are here in the United States fighting racism. You guys are fighting to keep racism out. We're fighting against racism that exists in the United States. You all in Africa are fighting to keep it out because that is your country, that is your lane. This is what we grew up doing. This is our history. And you all are not going to come in and make us change it to what you all want to do in our country, on our land, on our soil. That's my interpretation of what I learned. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's basically what it was. It wasn't you all weren't fighting against each other for anything. You all were fighting to keep people out of your country, off of your continent, and it includes the French, that includes Portuguese, that includes white, Western slave people coming over. You were just fighting to keep your line lane. And that's not the way it's explained, but that was my interpretation. Now that I think back over the pictures that I saw, because you still see your president in or our civil rights leaders in photos with your president.
Yep.
So they're all fighting for the same thing. It's just that we have different supportive organizations here that you all don't need in Africa, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like you all don't need the NAACP to come over and stop people from hanging blacks.
I know, right?
Yeah. So that's that's interesting.
Well, let's quickly talk about your experience. I believe you went to the Depot Castle.
I did. Oh, yes, I did.
Let's talk a little bit about the Depot Castle. I went there before and I have a footage from there. The moment you entered the place and they tried to explain to you how the slavery started. Your mind.
So the first time I ever saw the movie Root, that was the book written by Alex Haley, I was very young. So I remember it being a very, in my opinion, at the time it would be considered brutal, but it was brutal. It was heart-wrenching because I'm a child watching somebody of the same skin color as me getting beat for no reason, getting cut. So when I walked in the castle, so let me back up. I have not watched that movie. I think I watched it maybe twice. As I got older, I couldn't watch the movie. When I was younger, I watched it out of curiosity and because your parents wanted you to see it so you could know what was really going on. So that's what always etched in my mind when Kunta Kinte got beat for no reason. Then he got beat for trying to escape and things like that. So that's what my thought of Africa is. So fast forward when they redid the movie as far as not doing it over, but we went from a black and white television to now
Mm-hmm.
color television. Now that I'm thinking about it, I couldn't watch it. It I had no interest or no desire to watch it. It hurt too much to watch it. So when I walk in the castle, it's still not resonating with me. That's what this is for. So when we finally went down and went down the little, I'm gonna call it a tunnel leading to the dungeon,
Oh, okay, yeah.
I couldn't go all the way down because it was too slippery for me.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
So I saw the dungeon that was still above ground. And when they told me how many people they were having it, I just can't fathom the images of that many people being in there.
Yeah.
But what did occur to me is the slave ship.
Mm-hmm.
I said the way they told us that they brought them over and stacked them on top of one another, it's guaranteed that the person on the bottom always died before they
Oh, yeah.
got up the boat. Because all of that weight, I said, can you imagine? And I'm talking to myself, I'm dying thinking about that much crushing weight on my chest. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to breathe because that's a natural reaction from any human being. Is that you want to try to keep breathing until and you don't want to give up, but you don't have any other choice.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they threw the slaves over. Well, you threw slaves over that you killed. You didn't throw the slaves over that died naturally from too much pressure or being,
Yeah.
in there confined.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to try to make sure I take a trip to is it Ohio, Chicago,
Okay.
to see the slave ship because they have some pieces of slave ship in the museum there with
Okay.
shackles and things still on them. I think it's Chicago.
Okay.
But I just couldn't believe I'm looking at real cannons and cannonballs that
So
have
then
been
you can put the two together and get a proper image.
say that one more time.
So that you can put the two together.
I just it and when I looked out over the wall to see the rocks, that really resonated because we see that in movies all the time. And I took a beautiful picture and it came up portrait with the rock and the water splashing up. And I'm like, those windows up there is where they stood and they could see the slave ships coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they had to leave the slave ships out because they couldn't get too close or they wouldn't be able to get back out. So they had to drop anchor and you both. And I'm like, this is really true.
Yep.
It is really true that, see, what we have here in the United States for our history is the actual plantations that they came from Africa, crossed the water, and where they ended up. We have those houses that they stayed in, the shacks they stayed in, the plantations that the white slave owners owned. We have that part. We don't see until we come there where it really came from and how they came. We don't see the ugly part, even though it's ugly over here. But the ugly part of people losing their lives trying to escape so they don't have to get on that ship. The ugly part of the actual ship that they made them drive the little steamboat. I'm gonna call it a steamboat. We know it was a paddle boat out to so they can force them onto the ship. And you had nowhere to go. You didn't know how to act. It's just it really was in this castle. Like I'm just looking around like I don't know if I can say I was oohing. It was more in awe. Like I am really fortunate not only to be standing here to witness this, but I'm fortunate that I did not have to live through that. That my ancestors made me be able to come back and visit this. So I wonder at night how creepy it could be to be there with the spirits and things like that. Because I'm sure it's plenty of them in the water that come back on land. And I'm just not that type of person. But at the same time, it's this.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that people live what we see on TV and in the movies. I saw the reality of it, with the exception of the movement of people. But we already know how the cast look in the movies. We saw the same shutters open and closing where people looking out. The cannonballs, the cannons are really, they are real. These dungeons and the ones that I saw with the archways that were above ground, just imagine now the secure gates that were there are not there right now, but they were there. You stuck people in there worse than sardines, like a
Yeah,
herd.
there are a lot of people in there.
Yeah,
Lot
like
of people.
250 people at one, and it really only can hold 20 people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm like,
So
mhm.
now you've been together. In totality, what's your impression from them?
um, it's a life experience.
Mm-hmm.
Will never ever forget it. I look forward to revisiting Africa again and again and again. Um, the people work manually every single day. To see what you sit there and do to make
Yeah,
mud cloth, and we come over there and we buy it like it's a trinket, but this is actually handmade. 10 fingers and 10 toes on that man-made machine. Everything in Africa is man-made. Everything.
the
I,
organic aspect of it. You get everything fresh.
yes, that's the other part. I see trash, but it's not the same trash I see here.
You know,
It does not stink. I don't smell rotten food. Um, I didn't see,
how you do in the States.
I didn't see not one person in Ghana with rotten. No, I didn't see anybody with rotten teeth. I didn't see anybody with some of their teeth missing. They either had teeth or no teeth. And if they had teeth, they were perfect. They were white. They were in place. Nobody odors.
Mm-hmm.
See, we think that Africans have body odors all the time.
You know, right?
Yeah, that was not the experience. And then something else I learned, and I was wondering why, but I went on and asked the question, why is it that all the little girls' hair is cut close like my hair here?
Yeah.
And so it was explained to me that that is a way to limit distractions when in school. Because if they have cornrows and they have anything attached and it comes to loose, it's a distraction because somebody's going to want to play in it, somebody's going to want to braid it. It distracts them from schoolwork. So the person that told me, I said, so you had to wear your hair like that too? She was like, okay. I said, what have to? He said, we don't like it, but we don't have a choice. I said, every girl was like it. They were like, yes. So that was a thing for me. And I noticed that people in Ghana still wear the same clothes outside of their regular African attire that we wear here in the United States.
Yeah.
Even if it's a winter outfit, they will have it on. They're walking around like it's 50 degrees. I'm like, I would have fainted by now, but I have to remember that's the normal.
Yeah. But they've been in that really for a very long time, you know?
Uh-huh.
They don't really feel like just as you're gonna feel it.
Probably 70 degrees is winter.
You know, right?
So this was 90 degree weather. They was walking around. Only not a lot of people, but a couple of people.
Mm-hmm.
So one guy I met, he was one of the vendors that came to the hotel and they found out where we were staying and sold us, different things that we wanted to buy. He was dressed like he was a rapper from New York.
Okay.
So I said to him, I said, you want to be a rapper? So he had gold fronts and stuff. I said, how did you get that? Because that's not here popular.
You know, right?
So I said, and you're not. I said, where are you from? He said, something. I said, no, you're from here. I said, but you like that New York rapper look. He was, yeah. And what's so funny, someone was there a week or two before we got there, and he remembered her name. And she was from here. She was from the DMV. He pulled up her picture. I recognized her, but I couldn't tell you her name. But I don't. She's local. They know her. He was like, I just met her. And it was funny because he gave me a her name or something. I said, that's not your African government name. So we did do the name of person and name.
He's like a New Yorker.
Yes. And it was funny. He couldn't do anything but laugh.
I know.
The way he was dressed and everything, his sneakers, and you all don't wear sneakers like that. You all wear open toe stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to stay cool, you know. So he was funny. I got my hair braided when I was there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I got it braided when I was there. Young lady, guy, one of the guys that came to the hotel, I recognized him. He was at the art market or something they had taken us to. And I was like, I remember he told me where I'd seen him. So he said that I said, well, you have locks. I said, who does your hair? He said, my sister. And I said, well, does she braid? He said, yeah. He said, do you want me to bring her? I said, I need my hair braided. The next morning, he had her at the hotel that we were staying at by 6:30 in the morning. So I couldn't get it braided right then and there because we were going to breakfast. We had an itinerary. But she stayed in the hotel until I came back that evening for dinner. And she braided my hair for me.
Okay.
So what I also noticed is that the economy there will always kind of plateau to remain something of the same. Because in Ghana, you all farm, you all fish, that's how you eat, and then you sell to the neighbors or the community. So you're recycling the money in the economy.
Yeah.
And it's not a flux of economy outside money coming in. And the value of the dollar right now, it's not that large in Ghana. But when we were there, the value wasn't up as high.
Yeah, I think the dollar is coming in like up to 11 now. It used to be
Over
like
13,
but now
9.
11.
Oh, yeah. So, it's
Go
dropping.
keep that everything. Keep going.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
yeah, 2 or 4, now it's 11. Before
Oh,
that, yeah, it's 11 now, 11, 20, 11, 30. And I think it's some places even like 11 exactly. So maybe by next week it'll be like 10.
mm.
So
So,
that tells you that there's been a lot of changes in terms of the economy. Things are changing.
coming from us. It's coming from the United States.
I know that.
It's coming from the United States. It's not my choice.
I know, right?
Yeah. So those
So,
tariffs are really having a lot of effect worldwide.
so
And
go
ahead.
I know we almost time is almost up, but
Okay.
to now you had an information before going. Now you have an information coming. So let's say, should you get the opportunity to, let's say, retire in Ghana, what do you do?
Yeah.
And what?
It would be an adjustment. It would be some adjustment. I think as long as I have the ability to come and go, and I get to see more of Ghana because we were limited to where we could go.
Yeah.
But as far as living is concerned, first of all, the American dollar would go a long way there.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have to worry about me being what you consider poor. That's number one. Number two, my quality of life would be better there because of the food. You guys eat off the land.
Yeah.
Number three, that would also keep my stress level down. No worry.
That's the whole thing. Nobody's in here.
Yeah,
Let's get
yeah,
nobody's
yeah.
in here.
I understand completely why they say what they say about Americans being selfish, greedy, rude, aggressive. I knew these things about our people. And it doesn't matter what ethnic background you come from in the United States, it's every last one of them. But when I got there and I saw the interaction, it took me back. Like, you don't know how to conduct yourself when you're at home. No one does anything intentionally over there. It seems like everybody wants everybody to win. because the young lady he went to pick up to do my hair, I know that was not his. They come from the same mother and father, but brotherly love over there is very big.
Yeah.
Unity and loyalty is very big over there. So he said, my sister, and that means he wanted to make sure she got there to make some money. I had offers from a couple of people before I got her, but I had to let them know that I know that you all braid hair between $12 and $16 of American money. So you're not going to charge me $80 to add this hair and then I'm paying. So the young lady did it for $50 and that included me paying for the hair. So what I didn't have in American dollars, I gave it to her in CD because I know that some people, unlike yourself, and this will be there and here, when they see Wanda City, you all know that that is a low amount of money in Ghana money, but however, compared to American money, it's better, if that makes sense. The value is more. So it's very rare that you go someplace, that's when you know the dollar does not hold its value. When you go to a country, they would prefer to have their own money instead of the American dollar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there was a lot to be learned. Would I go back? Yeah. I just told someone today I need to find a place to move to, even if I move there for 6 months or move there and have a home and still come back to the United States. Because you will learn to budget your money to make that trip. Because when you come here, you have some place to stay, and it will require more money to come here and stay and eat than it does for you to live there.
Yep. Yep.
So, would I go to Africa again? Most definitely. Would I go to Ghana? Yes. And I would explore out further in Ghana to see more. But the art there was absolutely beautiful. I had to buy a suitcase to come back. When I came over there, I was already overpacked. Then, when I came back, I had to bring an extra suitcase.
Wow.
Because they packed away my stuff that I bought. Yeah.
That sounds good. I'm glad
Yeah.
the trip to Ghana.
I did.
I would like us to talk more, but I think our time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank you so much.
No worries.
Sharing.
Really appreciate you inviting me.
Come again?
I appreciate you inviting me.
You're welcome.
That's another thing you all say. You all don't say, huh? What? What you say? It's come again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
When you say that when you get an opportunity, you will go back.
Yeah.
I'm glad that when you went to Ghana, you were like, oh man, I'm scared. You enjoy, not just enjoy, but
I did.
Ghana to the States.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the time.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me, and I enjoyed you.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, thank you so much, Paige, for being so. This is our conversation with Paige. We talk about her trip to Ghana, her experience, her impression before going to Ghana, and also her impression aftermath. And you heard it yourself. This is what we talk about Africa. Africa is not what you think. There's a lot of good things that is going on in Africa. Please do not let anyone deceive you. Don't let people sway you away. Don't let people, the social media and all the media houses, be saying a whole lot of stuff about Africa. But there's a lot of good things that is going on. She went to Ghana, she enjoyed, and as she said, when she get an opportunity to retire in Ghana, she will be more than happy to go. She even want to go. Thank you so much. This is Coffee Spotlight. Thank you for being part of the family. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Please, if you have not subscribed, do subscribe to the channel. Also, share the video. Let other people get into watch so that they will also share the good news. My name is Steve. Thank you. I am out of here.